All right, Brian, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the 90-day waiting period for divorce in Utah.
Okay, so for those people who are not aware that there's this 90-day waiting period, how have you heard it explained to you?
Well, I've always been told and had the understanding that it was a 90-day waiting period from when you file your divorce.
So when you file with the court, you have to wait for 90 days for what?
Before you can get divorced.
Okay, before the court could issue its decree of divorce, before you can get an order in hand that says, I am divorced. All right, and what are the reasons for this?
I didn't understand that myself, and I thought, what's the deal? Is the court trying to say, well, maybe you don't want a divorce, maybe you can reconcile. There's cheating and drugs and all kinds of horrible things.
That has been known to happen.
Yeah, but usually when people are divorcing, they're pretty sure they need a divorce, and there's really no other way around it.
I agree. I mean, when's the last time someone just took the decision to divorce lightly?
You mean apart from Britney Spears in Vegas?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
Okay, let's face it, most people, when they finally get around to filing for divorce, they've been agonizing over this for years. Okay, and then they're told, oh, by the way, hey, you reached an agreement on everything. You did exactly what the courts encourage you to do. You settled out of court, you reached an agreement, you didn't fight and get angry with each other and go back and forth. So your reward for doing all that is having to wait 90 days. Now, let's face it, sometimes people want to remarry. Sometimes people want to move on with their lives. And the idea of sitting around waiting to have the court approve what everyone else has already agreed to and is already living is kind of an inconvenience and kind of an insult, quite frankly.
When you want something that badly, 30 days is a long time, 90 days is an eternity. You're just really waiting.
Well, this is going to make you even more angry. If you and your spouse reach a settlement agreement on everything, and you've done that right at the beginning, so you just sat down and said, okay, we need to get divorced. Let's sit down and do that, whether we do it between the two of us or with lawyers or with a mediator, whatever it is. We worked everything out, so we filled everything out, and then we went down and filed our divorce papers, only to be told, even though everything's ready to go, you have to simply wait for 90 days. Okay, you know what else is going to make you really angry? There is no 90-day waiting period in those circumstances. Because here's the way the law reads. Now, if you want to look it up, we'll put the link down here. We'll put the citation. It's Utah Code Section 30-3-18. And that's where it says that you cannot have a hearing in a divorce action for a decree of divorce. You can't have a hearing in court until 90 days have passed.
Usually divorces don't even go to trial. You don't need a hearing.
Right. Okay.
85%.
Yeah. Most cases settle. The overwhelming majority of cases settle. So, for people that want to litigate and people that want to go to court, well, I have bad news. You have to wait at least 90 days before that can happen to get a divorce. Now, we're not talking about temporary orders and things like that. We're just talking about a divorce. But if you and your spouse have reached an agreement on everything, there is no 90-day waiting period. Because it's only, the 90-day waiting period only applies to a hearing in court where you're going in and you're being heard as you speak to the judge or your commissioner. That you have to wait 90 days for that. But that only applies to hearings. Now, by the way, the court system itself will tell you that's not true. But they either don't understand or they're simply flat out lying to you. You can read it yourself, and you don't have to be a lawyer to understand what this code section is. I've had judges tell me, well, that's not what the legislature meant. They wanted everybody to wait, just like you were talking about, 90 days to think twice before they get divorced. Well, if that's what the legislature meant, that is not the bill that the legislature passed. It's as plain as the nose on your face. It says you have to wait 90 days for a hearing before you can have a hearing for a divorce. So if you and your spouse and your lawyers and everybody else have reached an agreement on everything, all ready to file, only to find out you're going to have to wait 90 days, the answer is no, you don't, and don't be afraid to tell the court that. Now, by the way, we have done that at our office. We have been told at times, and we get a lot of pushback sometimes. We'll be told by the judge, we'll be told by the clerks. It's like, nope, you can't, even though everything's on file and all we have to do is sign the decree. We're not going to do it until 90 days have passed. And I say, on what grounds? And they say,
well, you need to wait the 90-day
90-day waiting period in 30-3-18. And then I have to show them. I say, read it. Have you actually seen it? It's even on the court's website. The state court's own website say you have to wait 90 days from the date of filing before you can get a decree of divorce. It's not true. It's only if you want to get a hearing to get a decree of divorce. And let's face it, just like you said, most people never even want to set foot in court.
This is good news for a lot of people.
They don't need a hearing. If you are all done and ready to go, and you've filed everything and everything's in order, you can file a motion with the court to say, basically, waive the 90-day waiting period, even though it's not a waiting period that has to be waived because it doesn't apply.
Right.
But you can also point that out. Dear court, there is no 90-day waiting period. My spouse and I worked everything out. We're not asking for a hearing. Everything's in order. Please issue the decree of divorce now.
Right.
So keep that in mind. You'll see other attorneys tell you that there's a 90-day waiting period. They are wrong. Courts that say there's a 90-day waiting period on a settled case, they are wrong. Okay? You don't have to wait, and if you need to know more about that, feel free to give us a call. We'd be happy to discuss it with you further. Thanks for coming to Client School.
Thanks.